just doing it?
That's what, yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. And we got everything.
Temperature has affected my tuning.
Oh, that's good. I'll check mine. Okay, 1 minute. And we're starting out with
Joyful?
joyful.
Where is Over My Head?
Over my head is the anthem.
Oh, because the anthem says lift every voice and sing.
So, how they do it? Maybe I don't know. Over my head, right there.
Oh, okay.
Over right, so after we send the
Look
kids
after-
out, we
okay,
do it.
okay.
Just kind of lighten the mood.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And then we'll do Lift Every Voice as the anthem.
I guess I was looking for the bold type.
And Emerald is playing the camera.
Right,
So
right.
we've got everybody covered.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley. My name is Reverend Kiya Heartwood. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm so happy that you all are here this morning. We're going to have a righteously good time today and an interesting time. I think you will find all the stories interesting. But we're going to start out by singing a song that I know you know the tune unless you're an alien hiding among us. It is number 29, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, God of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, hail thee as the sun above. Melt the clouds of sun and sadness, drive the pain of doubt So this was one of the most popular hymns in Unitarian churches in the 40s and 50s and 60s.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, or UUCBV, or if you don't like acronyms, Brazos UU for short. My name is Jeff Graber, and we are a welcoming congregation, which means we celebrate and welcome all people across diversities of race, gender, sexual identities, age, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are also a congregation working for reproductive justice. So whoever you are, wherever you have come from, wherever you are on life's journey, however you like to describe yourself, you are welcome here.
We have 2 readings for our call to worship this morning, but they're short, don't worry. So the first one comes from James Luther Adams, one of our main Unitarian philosophers, and he said, "Church is a place where you practice what it means to be human." And our second one comes from Reverend Dr. Forrest Church, who said, "Unitarian Universalists are neither a chosen people nor a people whose choices are made for them by theological authorities. We are the people who choose."
We are so lucky because it says here that Sage is going to come light our chalice for us. And please say our chalice lighting words with me. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of the life and meaning we share together. And now, please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
As Unitarian Universalists, we believe there's a spark of the divine in every being, including all of y'all, especially the ones you have not met yet. This is your opportunity to say howdy to them. So go ahead and say howdy to everybody. If you don't want to be messed with, just look really mean and cover your body. And people will leave you alone, probably. Chances are good. I will let you know when it's over.
Still going. Good morning. My name is Allison. I am your Director of Religious Education here at UUCBV. And before I get to our activity for the day, I have two announcements. The first is, if you made a name tag at the front table, you have left your keys if you have a library thing and a NASA charm. Anyone? Maybe? All right, they're gonna be, okay, I'll drop them off to you at the end, or when I go out to RE. I was gonna say they're gonna be on the table, so you won't get very far. Also, we are having our next level of Our Whole Lives start for 10 to 12-year-olds in late September. If you're like, what the heck is Our Whole Lives? I have no idea what you just said. I don't know what's happening. I will be in the chapel today after church to answer all of your questions. So if you have a 10 through 12-year-old who might benefit from our lovely comprehensive sexuality education program, come find me after church and I will answer all your questions. All right, did y'all know we have a 70th anniversary coming up? Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know that? Yeah. So I was thinking this week about legacy. Who can tell me what the word legacy means? Kiya?
It's what you leave behind for the people that you're related to or connected to by community.
It's what you leave behind for people you're either related to or connected to via your community. I think that's a pretty good answer. Anybody want to add anything, or are we good with that? I love it. Okay, so I thought about a question that sometimes gives me great joy and sometimes gives me a little bit of pause, and it is, how do you want to be remembered? Sometimes I'm like, I don't. But other times, I'm like, oh, yeah, this sparks a lot of conversation in my mind. So today we're going to be talking about what our legacy might be here in this place. So if you look to your left or right, you might notice some ribbons sitting out. Does everyone see a ribbon on their row at least? Ooh, I think they are. You might notice some shipping labels. They look like address labels. Everyone have some of those? All right. We are going to work together as a row. Those who can write, can you please help out those who cannot write? And we are going to brainstorm together an answer, or an answer for right now, to the question of, what do you bring to our community? With one or two words. That's very hard. One or two words. If you were brand new and you're like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever, it's my first time here, I don't bring anything, words like curiosity might suffice for what you bring to our community. How about a hopeful heart? So even if this is your very first time, you can also participate. So I want y'all to take a few minutes to think, work with your row, and then write your answers on your shipping labels. When your row is done, will you hold up a hand so I know when most of you are done? Okay, get going. You do not have to fill up all the shipping labels. Sure. Hopefully they'll...
Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun.
Give them 2 more minutes, maybe.
Rob's like, that's a German thing. You're not doing
if you have a few words written down, you can stick your label to your ribbon, however your row decides to do that. Oh, one of your ribbons is traveling up to the stage. All right, we have about 30 more seconds to get your shipping labels stuck to your ribbons. Joey! I still see people writing, but for the sake of time, we're gonna move on. You're done? Oh my gosh. That's my favorite row right now. All right, when we go to religious education, we are going to collect these ribbons. So if you have a ribbon, can you pass it to the middle or somewhere that's easy toward the end of a row so that we can grab them on the way out? Do I have any volunteers of younger people who will help me collect some ribbons on the way out? Or I'm gonna just volunteer you. Maybe Ashling, Kieran, would y'all help me collect ribbons on the way out? Thank you. All right, so thank you for all of the gifts that you bring to our community. In religious education today, we're going to weave them all into a beautiful tapestry, and we'll bring it out during coffee hour. So, Will you all please sing us to religious education, and we will collect our ribbons. Thank you.
I said, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Said, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We are now gonna sing. Hold on, I'll tell you what number. Number 30, Over My Head. Over my head, there's music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. is singing in the air. Over my head, I is singing in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Take a break, Ken. Verse 3. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. There must be a God somewhere. Thank you for singing. Thank you, Ken. Y'all give it up for Ken. In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, there's not often a period of time where people can pray or they can put their minds and thoughts to their joys and their concerns. We are kind of too large to give the mic around to everyone, but we have these beautiful candelarias, and you can light a candle for your joys or your concerns or for your precious life. And also, you can have some silence, and we have Emerald Air to play piano for us this morning. Are you improvising? Excellent. No, you're playing a song? Cool. So Emerald's going to play music for us, and if you don't know what's happening, watch everybody else, because they're going to light candles, and that is what we're doing. Thank you. Emerald. So, this year is our 70th anniversary of being a congregation. Very exciting. One remarkable fact about us is that we were not originally founded as a church. We were founded as a lay-led fellowship, part of a huge fellowship movement that I'm going to talk to you about this morning so that you know where we fit in the larger scope of things. The fellowship movement was one of the great experiments of the 20th century. Instead of waiting to find enough money for a building or to hire a minister, people were encouraged to organize themselves in their living rooms or at the local Y, which is the case here. Our College Station and Bryan founders did just that in 1956. Once upon a time, the Unitarian faith was run by an organization called the American Unitarian Association, or the AUA. This is before the merger with the Universalist Church in 1961. So it's just Unitarians that we're talking about. The American Unitarian Association had an amazing president. His name was Reverend Frederick May Elliott. And he served in that position from 1937 till his death in 1958. So 20 years. He got reelected 6 times. That's pretty amazing in and of itself. He was elected 6 times. He needed his own, he needs his own sermon, really, for me to tell you all the stuff he did. But in 1934, he was just the minister at the Unity Church in Minneapolis. He had gone to Harvard. His family are all Unitarian ministers and educators like all the famous Unitarians of that day. So he was born in Boston. He grew up right on Beacon Hill, you know, mainstream. He had abolitionist relatives. He had famous guy Unitarians. They all went to Harvard. He went to Harvard. You got me? Okay. He's the guy. His cousin is T.S. Eliot. That tells you everything you need to know about him. Except he had read this thing. So way back in the late 1800s, when people were moving west, the very educated Harvard elite did not want to go with them and fight Indians and, you know, deal with all the hazards of being out on the frontier. So they sent the women to do it. It's true. That's how we got women ministers in the first place. And they opened a lot of churches, and a lot of things that we do come from them. So the women ministers had 7-day-a-week church. They had fiber arts, and they had classes, and they had study groups, and they had book clubs, and they had all those things. That did not happen in the old guard Boston churches. So somebody wrote a report, and they said, this is how you could do lay-led churches. So he read that in 1934, and then 1937 he got elected to president of the UUA. And so he started an actual movement and a division of the AUA that was supposed to expand Unitarianism by starting fellowships. And he put 2 evangelical people in charge of it. The first one was this guy from North Carolina who had grown up Baptist, who was very smart, went to Wake Forest, and his name was Ron. I got it. He's got a real southern name, hold on. His last name is Call, I know that part. Yeah, so Lon Ray Call. He's a former Baptist preacher from North Carolina who had also been a chaplain with the American Expeditionary Forces in World War II. Now, Eliot also had been a chaplain. They sent him to France. He didn't have to go with the Expeditionary Forces. Anyway, so they were both chaplains who had served with the military. All these people came back from the military, got in the GI Bill, started going to college. That's the vibe. You with me? In the 40s, in the early 50s? Okay. So he puts Ron Ray Call in charge, and he puts this guy who's a lay leader named Husbands. And the two of them are the Evangelical Start Fellowships. And they had a particular idea of where those future Unitarians might be. So they decided that Unitarianism would appeal to, hold on one second, people who valued intellectual independence, were suspicious of religious dogma, officially politically liberal. Sound like any place we know? Okay. They thought these would be specifically the people. Now, you know that this is inherently white people because it's America in the 50s. And I know here in College Station, women and blacks were not allowed to go to A&M at that time. Is that right? I think I'm correct about this? Okay. So the people that they were particularly targeting were college-educated, the people who lived in the suburbs, the people who had lots of degrees. That's who they thought that Unitarianism would appeal to the most. And they weren't wrong, because they started hundreds of fellowships and doubled the number of congregations in the Unitarian movement. We are number 200. The first one was in Boulder, Colorado in 1948. So put yourself in College Station, Texas in the 50s. Some of y'all were here. In 1956, Billy and Betty Thomas and Richard and Georgine Tarbell, who were associated with Texas A&M's Department of Oceanography and Meteorology, organized the Fellowship of College Station. So it's the 200th fellowship through the AUA fellowship program. And in May of 1957, the A&M Battalion newspaper announced a meeting of the Unitarian Fellowship of the Brazos Valley at the YMCA. They had guest speakers who spoke on humanism and city planning and whatever, it was like college lectures pretty much. And they purchased property in the shadow of the stadium in 1964, which became Welborn Road, until TxDOT took that property for highway expansion in January of 2017. How many people here in the room right now attended the Welborn Church? Okay. So these are the people that built this place for us. And the place before that is where we park cars for football games. All right. We have a lot to be proud of. So if for the next, till we get done, anybody who was around who wants to talk about their experience of becoming a part of this church, we're going to have 5 to 10 minute sections every Sunday, probably all year long, of people talking about their experience of what it was like for them when they came and joined the church, and what it was like to be at Welborn, so that we can all get to know what happened at our church and have an understanding of our history. And so today, our first people who are going to talk is Kathy Wheeler, but I'm going to finish the sermon first. Okay. I want to speak about the challenges and shadows of the fellowship movement as we constantly ask, who are we building this church for? Because it's a question that comes up. So the fellowship movement doubled the number of Unitarian congregations with people who said, I didn't know there was a religion for people like me. So what are those people like? The Unitarians became strongly associated with educated, professional status, intellectual sophistication, and elite. There's a really great book if you want to read about the classism in Unitarianism that Mark Harris wrote called Elite. I think we have it in the library if you want to borrow it. Anyway, in American culture, that classism also brings a white privilege component. Doesn't mean that you're racist, just means that the game of life is easier for you. Do you know what I mean by that when I say white privilege? It's just a little bit easier. Your level of difficulty in the game of life is somewhat easier if you are not marginalized, if you're not a person of color in America, in the United States, I should say. America means all of the Americas. So there is a culture of exclusivity that we are currently struggling with as UUs, and we're trying to dismantle it and make it more of a church for everyone. So it is the difference between intellectual freedom, which we're for, and intellectual status, which implies some prejudices. Intellectual freedom says everyone's mind deserves respect, whereas intellectual status says some people's minds deserve more respect because they have more letters behind their name. How many people feel that that might be true? That there might be a little bit of privilege to having letters behind your name? Okay. I don't believe William Ellery Channing, one of our forefathers, imagined human dignity only belonging to scholars. I really don't. Our faith is best when we say everyone has a capacity to learn and grow and share together. My liberation and your liberation are bound together. Everyone should belong. Everyone should feel like they have a place here and that it's a safe place for them. But there are difficulties of that we have to address. We can't just ignore them, which is why I'm talking about it right now, and why you felt the temperature in the room drop. See if I'm going to say something you disagree with. Probably. It's a free pulpit. We can share ministry and spiritual exploration, and we can make this place comfortable for people who don't have degrees, who didn't get to go to college for whatever reason, who maybe are professional in some other way, or they're self-educated, or they're complicated. They have complicated life. Who are we building this church for? How wide can we make the circle? Can we worship where it speaks to the mind, but also the heart, the body, the imagination, the spirit? Can we become a congregation of people from different cultures, economic and educational backgrounds, where everybody genuinely belongs? I think we can, but historically, we weren't very good at it. And we have to address that. And we've been addressing it probably for the last 15 years. I know as long as I've been active, I would say that has been a major concern with our leaders in the national movement, and they are constantly trying to help us work on these issues and create an environment where everyone's welcome. Like, how many people only listened to classical or jazz music before they came to this building at church? Anybody? Or you only sang hymns from your tradition? Yeah? Okay. Is rock and roll church music? Just asking. Is folk music church music? Is country music church music? Okay. This is a very new idea. The churches of the 50s and 60s, that was not the case. Almost exclusively in the Northeast, still, the music is pretty classical oriented. And certainly in the hierarchy of music, just like in the hierarchy of the people who are in charge. Are all the people in charge in our church wealthy? I don't think so. That is unusual. In the churches of the 50s and 60s, people with money just made the decisions. In the UUA and the AUA, the trustees had control of the money, not the people who went to General Assembly. That is just the facts, y'all. We want to be democratic, but we might not be all the way. So that's something we're working on here intentionally, and if you want to talk about it later, we can. Okay. So what did the fellowship movement teach us? The fellowship movement taught us that you don't have to wait for the church you need. You build it. You just build it. You start meeting in people's homes, and you make it happen. No congregation is ever finished. So let us continue to strive to build a just and loving community for the people we do not yet know, so that in another 70 years, some other minister will be standing up here going, yeah, this is what they did 70 years ago. And some of y'all will be older, the elders of that church, and you'll be like, yep, that's what we did. You know, that's cool, right? It's fun to think about that. What kind of legacy are we leaving? Because there are people in this room who were there when it was at Welborn. They were there when the state eminent domained our property, and they had to figure out where we were going to put this building, and I know they argued about it. I heard the stories. Y'all, they go. I bet you don't know this story. And then they tell me. I wasn't here. But I think we're going to hear some of those stories, and that'll be really interesting. So, our 70th anniversary is coming up. So it makes me think a lot about legacy. This is actually Allison's announcement. So I need my pages here. Here we go. Let me make sure I say the right things. So the fellowship was the 200th fellowship, and it was started at the Y. And then they got their first minister. When did y'all get your first minister? I'm the 11th minister here. So that's a lot of ministers. You know, but the first one I think was Kathleen Ellis. Is that true? Part-time? Okay. Will you all talk about that when you have your time and tell the story? Because it's not written down where I could find it. Okay. Two of the other fellowships. Yeah. Okay. We have a lot to learn. But y'all, I know for a fact that I'm the 11th, and I have been here 6 years. That's a lot. So, and that they had to work hard to get a minister. They had to work hard to pay for a building. You all bought the church at Wellborn Road, right, from another church? Okay. Great. Such a deal. And there's a picture of the old church hanging behind the greeting table if you want to see what it looked like. There's also a picture on the e-cast of the old church that they tore down when they took it, the state took over the property. Okay, so you're going to hear about all that. And I'm going to get the right page. There we go. How can we treasure learning without worshiping credentials? How can we honor reason without neglecting wonder? How can we make room for science and poetry, argument and silence, humanism and mysticism, justice and joy? I think we can do it. I think we're doing it. You have a lot to be proud of here, and I look forward to hearing all the stories of our people who built this place for us. Let us make more room, and let us build more together. Amen. So now I'm going to introduce Kathy, who's going to give us a short oral history of her adventures with UUCBV.
I'm third generation Unitarian, and so I started with my grandparents. My maternal grandmother, Louie Hodge, was born in 1890, became a Unitarian after she met a Unitarian classmate, Ruth Holden, while in college at Radcliffe in Boston. We've heard a lot about Boston a few minutes ago. Louie married her geology professor, Frederick Leahy, born in 1884. They both became Unitarians. Fred and Louie moved to Dallas as Fred was given a job with Sun Oil Company, where he later became the head geologist for 25 years. They were active in the First Unitarian Church in Dallas for decades, well before the members had their own church building. I was 3 years old when the cornerstone was laid at the First Unitarian Church in Dallas, and I remember there were a lot of people there. Fred and Louie had 4 children. My mom, Ruth Holden Leahy, was named for Louie's best friend who died earlier in 1917, the year my mom was born. She was Fred and Louie's 3rd child. When my mom was engaged to my father, Jack Marble, her future mother-in-law asked Mom to raise their kids Catholic. My dad had already left the Catholic Church. Mom said no. They married in 1943. My dad joined the First Unitarian Church in Dallas. My brother Dex was born in 1944, and he's still a Unitarian Universalist up in Oklahoma. I was born in 1946. My parents' marriage lasted about 10 years. They divorced when I was 5, and my dad died when I was barely 6. My mother showed us numerous examples of not being prejudiced with words and deeds. My mother was a piano teacher. Someone in the Dallas music teachers asked my mom to teach a colored boy, and that's what we called blacks at that time, was colored. Cedar Walton. His mother was a piano teacher, but she had taught him as far as she could go. He turned out to be the only professional pianist that mother ever taught. Later, he invited her to his jazz concert in Dallas and seated her in the front row, introduced her as his piano teacher. When I was in LRI, Liberal Religious Youth, our class went to a colored school to support kids as integration was being fought for. We Unitarians were the only white kids there. I was somewhere between 10 and 12 when Mom said to me once, and only once, "Kathy, you love animals so much, you might want to think about being a veterinarian." I thought, that sounds like a good idea. So women were people too, basically. I went to Texas Tech for 2 years. Mom didn't want me to go to college as a freshman that had no women's dorms. I was accepted at Texas A&M vet school after 2 years at Texas Tech. I looked for an apartment with one of the five other women in our class of 128 in College Station. One apartment manager said, "We don't lease to single women. They're all prostitutes." We found an apartment in Bryan. Lo and behold, the apartment under ours on the first floor, there were 2 prostitutes. I ended up moving in with a third-year female student, vet student, for other reasons. Vet school was not a pleasant situation with many of our classmates and some of the professors. They were not happy to have females in the classes. I stuck it out and graduated in 1969 at the age of 22. I did find my husband, Mike Wheeler, who was a graduate student at Texas A&M, and we married in 1969. I worked for Glenn Green, DVM, for 3 years in Mesquite, Texas. We then came back to College Station. Mike worked as a research chemist at USDA, and I did relief work in Dallas and Houston. Michelle was born in 1974 and Doug in 1979. In 1982, I opened Bryan Animal Clinic. Our kids grew up in the UUCBV on Welborn. Doug complained there was only one girl in his RE class that was his age. Later, I was on the board as the president-elect, the president and the past president of the UUCBV from 2014 to 2017. In 2018, for my work on the property acquisition team, I was given my first Jesse Kuhn Award for my work on the property team. And in 2021, my second Jesse Kuhn Award for the Sacred Space chair office that I had. Ken Appelt was our acoustical guru and our co-chair. I handled the income and payments for the property acquisition and all the bills for the building. Mary Lynn Bryan, our late UU realtor, and I drove all over Brazos County looking at property. Others on the team were Eleanor Ford, Molly Hagan Ward, Joyce Langenegger, Rob McGeechan, Jerry Wagman, John Ivy, Gay Webb, Sue Bloomfield, John Favor, and Harriet Smith, and a few others that were not long on the committee. Ministers at this time were Reverend Aaron Stockwell, Reverend Donna Renfro, Reverend Christian Schmidt, and Reverend Kiya Heartwood. We zeroed in on 3 properties to buy, but for various reasons they didn't work out. We came back to the 1719 property, and the price had come down from the original asking price of $625,000 to $483,233, and we bought it. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. So we're going to do this every Sunday for a while. If you are willing to do your 5 minutes and tell your story about what it's like for you, we would love to hear it. And just let me know, and I'll line you up on that. And now it's time for Jeff to do the offering.
Now let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to help support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. 4 groups that we voted to support with this year's donations are Tiny Hope Village, Brazos Interfaith Immigration Network, the Pride Center, and Brazos Valley Blessings. We vote on this every May at our congregational meeting. Please be as generous as you can.
So we're going to sing hymn number 149, and I hope that you all will help me out. But we're singing songs that were popular during the period that we're talking about, the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So many Unitarians were involved in the civil rights movement that many hymns in our hymnal come from that period, and this one is one of those. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with a harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound round as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the voice of the sing a song, hope for the desert heavens have brought, filling the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stormy road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had lived the steady beat. Have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sought? We have gone over the blood of the slaughter. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Bless our hands, bless our shadow beneath thy hand, we will never stand true to our God, true to our native land. Good job.
We give thanks for these gifts we have given, for those we receive, and for each other. May your generosity return to you tenfold. Now, some announcements. Sign up today to be an RE guide. Do not forget, once you sign up, you can decorate your jersey to add to our dream team. Every Saturday morning for the next 3 weeks, 8 to 12 p.m., the property team is working on our memorial garden. Be part of our history and get to know our property team. Can do the physical work. I think that's supposed to be can't do the physical work. Be on the drinks and snack team and keep our workers hydrated. Sign up for football parking, the church's biggest fundraiser. Jesus Study Group meets Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Contact Reverend Kiya to be added to the mailing and get a copy of the group covenant and reading list. Worship team sign-ups throughout August. Our 70th anniversary as a congregation will be September 13th with special guests. Lunch and a party. Save the date. Cake, definitely cake. And sort of an emphasis this was added. We need you to sign up for worship teams. And it's the last day to sign up now. But it's fun and it's easy. And if there's a downside, I haven't experienced it yet. So you should think about it.
I would like to give a shout out to everybody who came out and worked in the 107-degree weather. If you're interested in getting involved in the property team, because we're about to have a memorial garden, and we will have it by the second week in September. It's happening, y'all. So there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the trail in the back. And if you would like to get involved, you can talk to Liz or Carrie or Ivy or Sarah or Nathan or who else is on the property team here? Catherine, Laura. Meredith, everybody, you all come out on Saturday mornings, 8 to 12. I make sure there's stuff to drink and there's stuff to eat, and we will take care of whatever's happening. Come. Okay.
Now, please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
Please sing the benediction with me if you choose to. Remember the way of the wind and breathe and blow. Remember the way of the fire and sparkle and glitter and glow. Remember the way of the water and ebb and flow. Remember the way of the earth and grow. Go in peace.